Hello, 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 my beautiful, beautiful friends from the internet. How are you guys doing today? I hope you are doing well and you are thriving and you are vibing. I'm really excited to be back here for another week with you guys. I'm actually pre-recording this episode because when this episode comes out on Tuesday, I will be skiing with my friends in British Columbia. So I am super, super psyched about that. And I didn't want to leave you guys with no content, of course, so I will be, this episode I'm recording a little bit, it's Thursday now, this episode will come out on Tuesday, but that doesn't matter. Welcome to the Reddit Asks Us podcast. If you are listening, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcast, make sure to leave us a rating, and please also leave us a review. I'm your host, Luke Dick. And I guess I should have done the intro a little bit earlier, but it's nice to have everybody back, and I hope I got some new ears tuning into the show. It seems like we got some new ears every week. We got a lot of people coming back. It's good to have you guys here again. And I use guys in the gender neutral term, if that even exists. I remember I used to work at a restaurant, and it's such a difficult, if you've ever worked in a restaurant, when there is a group of people sitting at a table, sometimes you're reluctant to call people guys because some of the women, and I've been told by some of the women, they're like, we're women, actually. And I'm like, and to me, it felt like an innocent mistake. I'm like, oh, sorry. But it's a little bit awkward. And then I had my manager said, hello, folks. And I'm like, what is this, the Looney Tunes? That's all, folks. Like, what is this, 1930s? Like, it doesn't come off naturally. It doesn't, hello, folks. Like, what the hell? It just doesn't flow off the tongue. So I ended up using that word, actually, because there was not really a whole lot of other words to use, but that's okay. But I'm trying to use guys here in the gender neutral term or terminology for all my male listeners, female listeners, and my non-binary folks that are tuning in to the show. So, welcome back, everybody. Without further ado, let's get into it. I've got some wholesome content for you guys this week. Some wholesome content. And this is the stuff that I love. I love wholesome content. Alrighty, so this one comes from the main AskReddit page. What's one thing your partner doesn't know? And, this is one of those questions where, you could get a wildly different answers for. It could be something very bad. It could be something very good. But actually, for the most part on this subreddit and this thread, because this question has been asked multiple times, and there's always different answers every time people ask this question on this subreddit, and it turns out this time we have some really wholesome responses, and I'm really glad to see that. And it was really fun to read, and I'm going to have fun reading them to you guys. So the first one, and also this episode might be a little bit shorter, but we'll see. So the first one is from user GoGoNJ Devil. That her mom called. Sorry, I'll restart that. That her mom called her. That her mom called for her the moment before she died. When her mom was dying, she was in the room with her for almost 24 hours straight and left for 30 seconds. And I was there in those 30 seconds. Her mother died, but not before calling for my wife. I don't know if it will haunt her or not, but I just don't think that's something that she needs to know. Yeah, that's really tough. This isn't, I can't relate to that, but there is an episode of Better Call Saul where, if you've ever not seen Better Call Saul, guys, I'd definitely watch that show. It's a very good TV show. But the quote-unquote protagonist of the show, Jimmy McGill, or Saul Goodman, there's a scene where him and his brother are in the hospital looking after their mom because she's about to die, and Jimmy leaves and Chuck is sitting there, and before their mom dies, she's like, Jimmy, and Chuck goes, no, it's me, Chuck, and then she dies, and of course, when Jimmy comes back, his brother didn't tell him that he said Jimmy, but it's interesting because of she might have not told Jimmy, or he might have not told Jimmy that she said Jimmy because of reasons similar to this, and also because he low-key hated Jimmy. But also, like, is that something that Jimmy really needs to know? He missed that, right? So if he missed that, what kind of emotion is that going to bring out in you? You'd probably be quite frustrated because they were there for hours. And of course, these people were here for 24 hours straight, and just to leave for 30 seconds to go to the fucking vending machine. Although I don't know why you didn't go. You're the husband. I don't know. Maybe she just wanted a break because it's her mom or whatever. But in hindsight, yeah, you definitely should have gone, or unless she was leaving to go to the bathroom or something. But anyways, yeah, and that you're not really sure if that person would really want to know. But I mean, I think that's fair to keep that from your wife. I think that's fair. Unless she reads this subreddit. So the next one comes from Jerry F19. That I have a folder of photos on my computer called Places I Have Found My Wife's Shoes that is legitimately filled with thousands of pictures of my wife's shoes that are neither in the closet or on the shoe rack. It started years ago as a joke and it has gotten out of hand. Honestly, that is something you are totally okay keeping to yourself. And if she ever finds that, it is only going to bring laughter. That is hilarious, man. Everybody's got little quirks. That's one thing I think I found in this while reading a lot of stories in this subreddit, Everybody's got these little quirks. There's no such thing as living with a perfect human. It's funny, I'm living right now with a roommate. I've never lived with anybody besides my parents before, and it's so interesting living with my roommate. Shout out to my roommate. I don't want to drop his name on here because he probably wouldn't be comfortable with that, but shout out to my roommate. And it's so funny because when you live with people who grew up in a totally different way, in a totally different environment, it's interesting to see how their living habits will manifest when they start living on their own. And it's so funny because he has these couple little things here and there that he does, and it's just funny to see him act in that way because, we're now living together, and there's probably things that I do. I definitely know there's things that I do, but even probably things that I'm not even aware about that he notices about me. And it's, everybody's got these little quirks, everybody's got these little funny things, and sometimes you see it and you're like, that's just too funny. But, anyway, shout out to my roommate. So next one comes from user ShutterPunch. She suffers from depression, and when she hits a slump, she feels like laying in bed and doing nothing. Even though 99.9% of the time, getting out of bed and doing something, anything, will make a dramatic difference in her day. So usually when she hits a slump, I'll manufacture some fake emergency that she can only help me to solve. Like, hey babe, I think one of the cats has a scratch on his face, but he won't hold still for me to look. Of course, the cat is fine, but I just tricked her into getting out of bed and doing something, and that's always the hardest part. Wow, that's some commitment, and that is some really having the ability to know your partner. I mean, I don't know if that's something you would ever want to tell them. It's probably something you're incentivized not to tell them. That's another thing the best ones are things that are good because you're incentivized not to tell them for a good reason. That is something you're probably incentivized not to tell them for a good reason, simply because it is, it's helping them and it's not really harming them. Now, when the person is depressed like that and getting out of bed actually will help them, doing something like this actually goes to show a lot of compassion that you have and that you care about that person and you want to see them, get better, and you want to see them, and even and I've known a lot of people with depression, and has affected my life in many ways. And I think one of the biggest takeaways from that is that, getting out of bed and doing the smallest little things can actually be so significant and important. So for somebody who has depression, it can be, even just getting out of bed can be a very, very important milestone to reach in a day, right? Or a very important goal to reach in a day. And it can change the day, really can, because that's when you start, that's when you start living your life, right? That's when things start to move forward. That's when time starts to pass and things start to happen and engage. And when you get up, not only are you engaging with your environment, but your environment is engaging with you. And I think a lot of that feedback that you get from your environment is very important because we're forced to react to that. And sometimes it can make the symptoms seem, less severe because you're reacting to your environment. But I don't want to act like I'm some sort of psychologist on here. That's just what I've noticed from, the experiences that I've had throughout my life dealing, I wouldn't necessarily say myself, but dealing with people with those issues. And I've had a lot of experience with that sort of stuff. But anyways, next one, from user Tiberdius. My kid had made a heart type thing at school and wanted to give it to me. I told him it was great, but that I always get the stuff that he makes from school. Instead, he should put my girlfriend's name on it because she'll love it. He gave it to her and she melted. She got it on the fridge and has been showing it off for 2 weeks to the friends and family. She keeps saying stuff like, "It was so nice he thought of me, and he spelled my name right, and he's so sweet," on and on. It'll just be me and his little secret. That is very cute. See what I told you guys? Wholesome content. Wholesome content here for you on a nice Tuesday night or whenever you're listening to this episode of the Reddit Asks Us podcast. That is super, super nice. And you know what? Yeah, like I remember making things for my parents in school, and always making one thing for one parent, and then your parent kind of is just like, "Oh, maybe you should make something for your dad," or "Have you thought about what you're gonna do for your dad on Father's Day?" and stuff like that. It's good to share the love, share the experiences. That's awesome. So next one comes from "Don't Worry, I'm Stupid." When we were dating, she tickled my feet and I acted it as if I wasn't ticklish. 13 years later, she will tickle them and be amazed I'm not ticklish. Every time it tickles, I have to hide this forever. Yeah, that's tough. That's really tough. And the feeling of tickling, man, that is an intense feeling. I don't know if everybody listening here is ticklish. However, if you are ticklish, I'm fairly ticklish. But well, man, that is an intense feeling. And to ignore that takes some quite intense inner strength, my friends. That takes some grinding from the gut, some true motivation, some true resilience to be able to withstand, especially on the feet, a tickle. That's tough, man. That's really, really, really tough. Shout out to this guy because that's a pretty amazing secret to keep. Alrighty, so this next one comes from JBroski91. My wife is the biggest softie for animals, and we have birds that nest right in a column on our porch. One day, a baby bird fell out and she saw. Well, it ended up dying, but I buried it and told her that I saw the mama bird come down and get it. I made her day so much better that I haven't had the heart to tell her that it died and probably never will. I also distract her whenever I see roadkill coming up, or I tell her it was just a plastic bag or something. Man, that's looking out for your partners, man. Looking out for your partners, that satisfies me. That really does, because it goes to show that when you just have true and utter concern for somebody, especially when you know them so well, right? Like see, for example, like I'm not, if I see roadkill, stuff like that, we had birds that died outside of our house, I'm like, it's part of life, right? That's part of what happens, and it's definitely sad, but it's not something I hate to see or bothers me to the point where I want to avoid it. And it's the same way for my parents. But for example, like for this person, they are recognizing that is something that somebody else doesn't want to see, so they care about them so much to the point where they're actually go out of their way to help that person not see those things. And I think that's really sweet. That's really nice of people. So this next one comes from No Metal 2605. My wife doesn't know her Kindle is connected to my Amazon account, and I can see the many alien sex novels she reads. So then we have a reply from Bolt Thrower 57. Man, you got to read some of those and tell her about a weird dream you had. No kidding. I had to read a reply to that comment because I was just like, yo, that is hilarious. You gotta make something up, and it's like so wild too. You gotta be like, yeah, I had a super weird dream last night, and just like see if you can like put your phone in your pocket or something and like record her face, because it's probably gonna be like, super shocked, and then she at a certain point she's probably gonna recognize what you're saying, but. No shame. We don't shame people on this podcast for reading whatever kind of books you want to read. You can read whatever kind of books you want to read, but that is so funny. Next comment comes from Necromantic Garden. Whenever we get fast food to go, she enjoys eating the extra fries which have fallen out of their carriage and into the bag. I'm not really sure why she enjoys them so much, but whenever there aren't any, I drop a few. Oh, I drop a few when grabbing my fries secretly and then give her the bag, and it's been 8 years. Wow. I always grab my fries last, and she's never noticed. Holy cow. That's crazy. That is so crazy. As something as simple as bag fries. But those bag fries, they hit different. I'm sure you folks know. Those bag fries, ooh, those babies be hitting they be hitting different. So, wow, that is so nice. Moving on, we've got a comment here from Xbone42. When we watch movies together, we always snack. One of our favorites to munch on during the movie are the sour punch bites. I don't know if that's an American thing or you're from another country. I'm like, of course, anyone who was listening to the show knows that I'm Canadian. I do not know that type of candy. She takes all the blue ones because I don't like them. They are her favorite. Always says how lucky she is that it worked out like that. The blue ones are my favorite, but she can have them. Wow. So sweet. Giving up your ability to eat the candy. I bet, this is what I'm picturing. I bet every time they get those candies, like he's like, yeah, babe, like, yeah, like you can have the blue ones, yeah, they're for you. And then like later, he'll like go out and buy like 3 bags of them and just like empty them all out, look for the blue ones, just go and just eat all the blue ones because they're his favorite. Like you definitely got to make up for that somehow. If that was me, I definitely make it. Oh, that's like saying, that. No, never mind. We got a reply from user We Rip. I dated a girl in college. Oh, sorry. This is what I was going to say. Yeah. That's like eating a bag of munchies. And then you're like, no, like, because everybody hates the pretzels. Everybody fucking hates the pretzels. Who eating a bag of munchies likes the fucking pretzels? If you like the pretzels, you're a fucking psychopath, man. They're the worst part. So that's like being like, yo, no, babe, I love the pretzels. Like, give me all the pretzels, and you have to eat all the pretzels. And then she's like, oh, it's so great that you like to eat the pretzels because I don't like to eat the pretzels. And it's just like, yeah, then you gotta eat those, man. You gotta fork them down. But that's what you do for love, everybody. That's what we do for love. Some user We Rip. I dated a girl in college, and we both enjoyed buffalo wings. I always thought it was rude to eat too many of the drums, clearly because the drums are the superior part of the chicken wing. So I would make sure I'd go after the wings first, and she would too. Offhandedly, one time she mentioned to me that she thought it was funny that we both liked the wings more. Damn. So many wasted drums. At that point, I'd just be like, I like the drums, and just start absolutely feasting. One day, it's going to boil over, man. One day, it's going to boil over. They're going to be eating wings, and he's just going to get all the drumsticks and be like, I want those drumsticks. I told you I like the drumsticks. Yeah. Very aggressive, but, sometimes that's how it is for chicken wings. So, next one. I'm feeling energized, guys. Sorry. I usually record on Tuesday mornings, and I'm thinking of changing that to maybe try to record on Monday nights because, after my day is over, I find that I'm actually much more energized, And so I was just taking a drink of my water. And I feel like I just have more energy, more to say. In the mornings, I'm always yawning and stuff. I mean, I don't know if the content is really that much different, but I just feel generally, more excitable, and my mood is a little bit elevated when it's a little bit later at night because I've been through my day, I've been through my experiences. My brain is awake. It's, can retrieve information a little bit quicker than I can in the mornings. So yeah, I'm thinking, let's see if I can start recording episodes Monday nights, and maybe a little bit, couple more in advance so that, content may be a little bit more enthusiastic for you guys, gender neutral. So we've got another one here from Hobo the Dinosaur. He doesn't know just how excited I get when he gets home. I just love being around him. The dogs can hear the garage door open better than I can, so I use them as a sort of notification. He's here. But he also doesn't know how to shut the fucking kitchen cabinets. The number of times I've almost brained myself because I stood up and the corner of a door was right above my head is absurd. That's another thing Sorry, that's another thing I don't really understand. Like, how do you forget to close the, that's like leaving your house and just leaving the door open. Like, how do you learn that behavior? How is that like how's that something that okay, turning the lights off, I can understand that. Leaving maybe some clothes around or some dishes around, I can totally understand that. But how do you forget to close the kitchen cupboards? It's a door. That's what it's for. You open the door and you close the door. When have you ever opened a door and then just left it open? Like, almost never. Except for some nasty people out there who I bet are thinking to themselves, I do that when I go to the bathroom. Shame on you. That's gross, man. That's a private place. The bathroom is a private place. I mean, if you've worked out with somebody that you're living with that's cool, then that's fine. However, that's, in my opinion, no. That's a big no-go, man. If you leave that door open, bruh, you're giving me free invitation to come in there and slap you right upside the head, bruh. You're vulnerable. You're on the toilet. You're vulnerable. I can come in there, slap you onside the head, and be like, close the goddamn fucking door. Anyways, I can see the frustration with that. Ow, that would hurt, man. Coming up and you just smoke your head on a freaking kitchen cabinet. Goddamn. It's a drawer, dude. If you don't open the drawer, you just open the drawer and you just leave it open. Why? What? How does that even happen? How does that even? What? That doesn't make any sense. As you can see, guys, this topic gets me very agitated. So next one comes from Nem Dolas. Very early in the relationship, after the second date with his monitor broke on Sunday, computer monitor. I knew he was an avid gamer, so I bought him a 27-inch monitor on eBay, and I had told him that I had it lying around. While he was on the way to me, I power walked through half of the town to get it, and quickly changed clothes because it was drizzling. He had low income and no money, and I didn't want him to feel like he was in my debt. We're over 2 years together now. Wow, that is some commitment, man. That is just making somebody happy. That's a smart thing, too. It's not like you went out and bought a brand new monitor. Like, you bought one off eBay, so it's, believable that you could have, had that lying around. But how do you, create that excuse? Unless you have, a brother or something, or unless you game, too. Excuse me for not acknowledging my female gamers out there, but, geez, I sound like such a Redditor. Anyways, yeah, that's an odd thing. A gaming monitor, that's a very odd thing to have just lying around. I'm very curious to know what your excuse was for having that item in your possession. So next one we've got here is from Crispia and Crinchy. If he's out of town, I go completely feral for 1 or 2 days. Candy for breakfast, falling asleep on the couch, beer with dinner on a weekday, clothes on the floor, recycling bag overflowing. Then I shape up when he comes back. Everything's back to normal, but man, does it feel good to be a sloppy pig sometimes. Man, I feel like we can all relate to this. I truly think we can all relate to this. I feel definitely sometimes when my roommate leaves, I'll order my pizza, I'll order my wings, I'll leave the box around. I don't really give a fuck. The floor will be all dirty and stuff. And then before he comes back, he would have never known. He would have never known, my friends, at all, that is what had taken place. But it's what happened. And that, my friends, is reality. We got a reply here from Typical Example. Yup. First I clean the house really well, then I pig it up with my piggy little mess. Then I clean it again before he comes home. And in the meantime, I'm binging all the trash TV, hair and face masks, crackers and cheese for dinner, boxes of wine, takeout, weed inside, zero pants. The Bachelorette works. He's not controlling at all or particularly clean. It's just fun. Reminds me of when my parents would leave for a weekend when I was a teenager. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Respect to that, man. Respect to that. If you meet somebody who's clean and cleanly all the time, that person is a psycho. There's no way, man. Because I was told this one time that your outer exterior environment and how you treat your outer exterior environment is very reminiscent of what goes on in your head. You know, it's a manifestation of so if you're disorganized, odds are the thoughts in your mind are disorganized. I don't know if there's any truth to this. I think this is just this was sort of like a Buddhist insight or religious insight that I was just listening to on YouTube or something. But I thought that was interesting, you know, that your physical environment, your mental environment manifests itself in your physical environment. But if you meet somebody who is clean and by the book all the time, there is nobody in this life who doesn't have a certain level of disorganized or disarrayment thought in their head. And it has to manifest some way. So if you meet somebody like this, be weary, my friends. Be weary of that person, because that person will Ted Bundy the fuck out of you. So be careful, my friends. Be very careful. Anyways, so this next comment comes from Candinos. That most times I ask my wife for a hug when she's feeling down or upset, because she doesn't like to be clingy or needy, so she internalizes it and goes quiet. I tell her I need a hug because of one thing or another, so I can comfort her without making her feel like she's inconveniencing me. It's too bad, man. It's too bad. Like, when you need a hug, man, get a hug. Hugs are amazing, man. Hugs are I love a good hug, man. I love a good hug. And there's nothing like a great hug in a relationship, man. There's truly nothing like it. I'm just gonna divulge this right now. I'm a single man. Am I okay that I'm single? Yeah, things are fine. Things in my life are actually very busy and they're going well, man. They're going well. I mean, I couldn't say that I don't have a disarray and disorganizement in my life, but generally I'm actually feeling quite good. But I gotta say, man, when you're in a relationship, this is one thing I do like about being in a relationship, man. It's just the affection, man. Physical affection. I'm that type of guy, man. I love cuddles. I love hugs, man. I love kisses. And when it comes to just hugging, man, I love to just hug the shit out of somebody, man. Like, even just my friends, dude. When I'm leaving my friends, I'll just give them a powerful, firmly grasped hug. Sometimes I do it to my mom, and she's like, okay, you gotta stop. But there's something, you know, like when you hug somebody, don't you wish sometimes that you could just more than hug them? You could just like trade bodies, you know what I mean? Like manifest your feeling of affection for that person within the person's consciousness. You want to manifest your own consciousness inside their consciousness and be together as one. You know, and that's impossible, because as human beings, you know, we're individuals. We have our own bodies. But, you know, like that hug that's just transcending bodies. It's astral projection type of hug. That is the type of hug that I am into. So that's a pretty intense thing to say, by the way. I'm sorry. I don't want to make it seem like if you're not into hugs, that's totally cool. I'm just telling you how I like my hugs. And those of who are in my life, you're going to have to get used to it. So, next comment comes from XXZAIF, XXZAIF, or Zaf, that I don't need to read aloud. My girlfriend struggles with insomnia, but for some reason when I talk to her late at night, she passes out almost immediately. So whenever I read a book out loud, softly under the guise that it helps me focus, it works every time. That is awesome, man. And that's one thing, again, it's one of those things where you're incentivized to keep that sort of thing from your significant other, because it helps them, right? It's a positive thing, right? If you told them that you don't need to read aloud, they'd be like, oh, so you're just burdening yourself. And people don't like to feel that they're a burden on somebody else, even when that person does it because they enjoy doing it and they just want to see the joy come from another person. People still don't really like to have that feeling of because it makes people feel guilty, man. It makes people feel like you're going out of your way to do something. But that's honestly, when people go out of their way to do things, that's when they're the nicest, man. That's when those some of the best moments are when people go out of their way to do stuff for you, because it truly shows that that person cares about you, and then that person wants to, do something to help you feel better, which is just, the utmost empathy and care and concern. So I love that. So let me see. I'm contemplating here which one I want to read off of. Let me finish off with this one. So this one comes from underscore K0Ella, so Coella underscore. My boyfriend has financial struggles, not because of anything he's ever done. His mother is mentally unwell and his father can't work for various reasons. He's been the sole provider for his family since he was a teen and has to balance his job on top of being the top 5% in his university cohort to maintain 2 scholarships. Holy shit. It sounds like a very, very, very stressful life. I mean, I bet your life in some sense is rewarding because you provide for all these people, and you feel the sense of obligation to do that, and that's a good thing because it's a sense of positive obligation because you're providing for those, and it's something you don't have to do. If you really didn't want to, you would fuck off and not give a shit. But you're choosing to go through all of this trial and tribulation to provide. So, I do bet that there is a decent amount of satisfaction that you gain. And if you don't, I hope that you do, man. And I hope that you feel appreciated in your life. He had to put his mom through a psychiatric hospital by himself when he was 19. He had no support from relatives except his grandma, who doesn't have an income herself but tries her best. He currently is raising his younger brother and paying rent for both of them. He acts strong about it, but he gets financial panics very, very often. And I'm assuming that we can all see how that would be a very plausible thing that would happen to somebody who has these sorts of life circumstances. In comparison, my family isn't rich, but we're definitely lucky enough to be comfortable. My parents pay my tuition, but I still work part-time teaching because I don't get any pocket money, and also I enjoy it. I'm a very frugal person, though, so a lot gets saved up. So sometimes I secretly transfer some money into his account. I pretend to borrow his phone and delete the SMS notification of it. He's never noticed, and it's not a lot of money, but I like to think it helps him get a little bit extra something. And that's, right, even if it's just a coffee, even if he just realizes one day, oh, geez, I have just enough to buy myself a coffee or a donut or a bagel this week. That's amazing. That's great, especially because you're sacrificing, man. You don't have to do that sort of stuff. I'm not really a huge person when it comes to money, right? I don't really think money has a whole lot of inherent value in and of itself. I think the things that money can provide and do for you, those things are more valuable than the actual money itself. It's when you become obsessed with money that you start to it's funny, when you become obsessed with money, that's when you start to actually lose the value of money, because the value of money isn't the actual value in and of itself of having money. The value of money is that it allows you to have some freedom and to have less stress on your life, and allows you to have more opportunities to do the things that you actually truly enjoy doing and having, right? And like a coffee, just when you need it, man. And sometimes I know people who are they don't have necessarily enough money to buy themselves a coffee when they want to, or buy themselves a donut or a bagel. And we need those little things in our lives, man. We need those. I hate when people are just like, you don't need a bagel, you don't need a coffee. It's like, shut the fuck up, man. Yes, we do, bro. Yes, we do. We need those things. Those things help to give us a sense of comfort, man. We need an escape. We need those little things in our lives that help us to reconcile some stuff. And it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. It's a part about being a human being, is that you need to let yourself off the hook, and you need to go get that coffee. You need to go get that bagel. You need to, even if you have coffee at home, you just want the Tim's coffee, you want the Don's coffee. You don't want the Dunkin's coffee. You want whatever coffee you drink. And that's the coffee that satisfies you. And that's what you want. And you know what, man? Have your cake and eat it too. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of the Reddit Asks Us podcast. I had a fucking blast, you guys. This podcast was probably one of my favorites that I've done. This was awesome. We got to read some wholesome stories. I got to share some of my thoughts with you guys, and I feel super energetic. So I'm thinking, Monday nights, I think that's probably when I'm going to start recording. I feel more energized, I feel more motivated, and I feel more enthusiastic and upbeat, I feel like I can share more with you guys, and these episodes are more entertaining. So And it's just tough. Yeah. Sometimes my life can get a little bit busy, and my priorities can get shifted a little bit. So sometimes it's not the best. But anyways, to wrap up this show, thank you guys so much for listening to the Reddit Asks Us podcast. Before you head out of this podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like, make sure to comment, and also to subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave us a rating, and also please leave us a review. And I am your humble, you're honored, you're grateful, you're truly, truly appreciative of you, host, Mr. Luke Dick. Thank you guys. I love you all, my beautiful people. I will see you next week. Peace out.